know it.
With a tear in my eye.
The cream of the crop. Acknowledge me.
What's up, everybody? Episode 380 of Top Rope Nation, the WrestleMania 41 Night 1 review. Ryan Drosty, Justin Joint, Jesse Velasquez here on a Sunday afternoon to break down what we saw and about 14 hours ago out in Las Vegas at Allegiant Stadium. Justin, how you doing this early afternoon? Not quite the morning anymore.
I'm doing pretty darn good because I'm still buzzing off of something I watched yesterday that just blew my mind. One of the best things of that genre that I have ever seen in my life. And that is Sinners. Holy shit, is that an amazing movie?
Have not seen it. Jesse, you?
Oh, incredible.
Have not seen that movie. I'm assuming this podcast we're going to talk about the T-Wolves smoking the Lakers in Game 1 and talk about the WrestleMania Night 1 main event, or should have been Will Ospreay and Konosuke Takeshita, right?
Yeah. I'm a little distracted right now because YouTube changed all my settings for some reason. I pushed back our start time like 10 minutes, and for whatever reason, it erased all the video description and everything I had set for this. So I'm like, oh my God. Hopefully people are finding this stream right now. Yeah. Well, welcome to the show. We'll just do this thing on the fly. Wonders of technology. Not frustrating at all.
Nope.
And luckily, you're not the kind of person who's a stickler for that kind of stuff to be perfect.
Not at all. Not at all. Changed the thumbnail that I worked on this morning. It was so good and everything. I think I got it set now, but I don't know if it'll save now that we're live. We'll see. All right, guys. If you saw WrestleMania Night 1 last night, which I'm assuming most of you did, please let us know your grade for the show, A through F. We do this every single time we review a pay-per-view / PLE. Justin Joint, grade WrestleMania 41 Night 1 for us.
It's a little tough for me just because I obviously I don't care for this company. I don't really enjoy this product very much. So I'm gonna grade it on a curve a little bit just because, it is WrestleMania. I am a bit of a sucker for the pomp and circumstance, even if it's getting a little overindulgent. I was pretty bored for most of the night, not like falling asleep bored, but it wasn't great. So I was kind of leaning C-. The main event saved the show quite a bit, in my opinion. So that kind of tilted it towards a C. I cannot go higher than a C+ because that show was almost 3 hours and 45 minutes long. And I looked it up. There was approximately 1 hour and 45 minutes of action. That means that show was 2 hours of filler. And that's on a wrestling show. And that's just not what WWE is anymore. I will give it a C+. It gets the plus, if only because Rey Fenix took the L in his first WrestleMania after all the shit he stirred in the past year.
Is the grass greener? Is that what you're saying? Is the grass greener, Ray? Oh, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. Jesse, give us your grade.
I watched most of it 2 hours later than everybody else did. Thankfully, you can fast forward a little bit through all the, not just the pomp and circumstance, but the commercials as well. Mm-hmm. And I also missed almost 2 full matches. Caught the last 2 minutes of Jade and Naomi. So I'm going C+ too. And I actually wasn't as bored as everybody made it out to be in our group. I thought that for the most part, everything that I saw was either good to great, especially the last match. I was a huge fan of the last match. So I'm going to give you the same grade, C+, and I don't think I'm going to go back and watch the other 2 matches because I didn't hear any great things about those.
I was pretty close to Justin's grade until the main event. I will say I enjoyed the women's match just because of all the stuff happening in that feud in the background and just being curious as to how the match would play out. And then I really like the main event. I like the closing angle, which we'll talk about here at the top. So I went from like a C to C minus up to a B. I'll give it a B because I thought the close was so good. I thought the main event was a really good match. I agree with Justin that, I mean, the amount of commercials and between match stuff is just obscene. Takes like 20 minutes between matches. And, for all the discussion on the other company and how long their events are, I mean, they wear you out because it's just action after action after action. This one, it works a whole different way. Just gets a little tiresome waiting for the matches.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, if it's not the sponsorships, it's their desire or desperation to let everybody know how popular they are. It's just a constant flood of look at these celebrities or pseudo celebrities. Like, why do I have to see Dana White's face twice on a WrestleMania show? That is unnecessary.
At least he was soundly booed.
Nice.
They're following their sister company as well, TKO and Endeavor. UFC specifically, this is the exact model they use for their 5 fights in 3 hours.
Yeah, and I mean, like, that's how fight sports have always been. Like, you watch a boxing pay-per-view, it's always so much crap between shows. So that's fine. But like with wrestling, it doesn't need to be this way. I mean, ever since the TKO thing, that's when the sponsorships also got out of hand. The amount of advertisements on that ring apron is disgusting. I mean, do we really need that? And also, I mean, I don't really have any insight into how the contracts are working these days. I would hope the performers get some bonuses based on those ad deals. If not, which I'm going to lean towards probably not, they're just enriching the executives and, the stockholders, I guess, more while they're ruining the viewing experience. Like that ad dead center of the ring, so huge. That should just be the WrestleMania logo if you want something on the mat.
Yep.
It's too much. I hate that. It looks minor league. My dad was over at the very start of the show, and we haven't watched WWE together in a while, and he immediately noticed the ads. It's like, what is all that crap all over the ring apron? I'm like, I know, that's how they do it now. I hate the look of that. I also feel like it's going to ruin this footage, like long term, when you go back 10 to 15 years and you're throwing it back to highlights and you see just the ads everywhere. It looks so cheap. I don't like that. People checking in the chat right now. John Hope, he's got it at a C. John Hope, patron of the show. Niall, also a patron, C plus. We've got a C from Dante, also a patron of the show. So yeah, keep letting us know your thoughts.
Did we get your grade?
Yeah, I am at a B.
Okay, B. Gotcha. Sorry.
Yeah, I bumped it up mostly off that closing angle. Guys, I mean, most of you that I'm seeing in the live chat, at least, are probably already subscribed to the channel. But while you're here, if you haven't, maybe you're watching on demand. These WrestleMania shows usually do a lot of views after the fact. Hit subscribe, like the video. We'd appreciate that. And for those of you here live, I'm trying something new today. It's a new feature on YouTube. And if you're already a patron, this could benefit you as well. So they have now goals on the super chats, where apparently if you hit the goal, there'll be some animation that plays on the stream. You can set the goals at whatever you want. So the super chats have to be at least $2. But if we get 10 super chats today, 10 super chats, the giveaway I set is for 2 free months of our Patreon. So 10 super chats, you could possibly win 2 free months of our Patreon. So if you're already a member, I'll just comp you. I'll refund your money when you get billed. But to get to our bonus content on Patreon, it's $5 a month. That's where the kind of the entry level is. So we'll get you the $5 a month membership if you win the drawing. So if we hit that goal at the end of the show, I'll do a drawing. I'll share my screen. I'll put all the names of everyone that did a super chat. We'll do the drawing if we hit it. Now, if you send a super chat more than $2, you'll get more entries, right? So if it's like a $5 one, give you 2 entries. $10, 4 entries. Bigger super chats, more entries. Seems logical. We'll see if we do it by the end of the show. If this works, maybe when we're doing some nighttime shows in the future, we'll do a super chat goal of like Justin chugs a beer or something like that. We'll see.
I could chug a sparkling water if you want me to.
He's got the Waterloo sparkling water today. I've got a Diet Coke, which says sis on it.
Okay.
Jesse,
sounds like you're going to need it. I have water. You guys might boo me. So this is from my StarCast 3 appearance. It's a CM Punk custom best in the world cup. This is one of my favorites.
That's a cool looking cup. I like it. Very
Yeah,
nice.
it's
Well,
got he's right there as well.
there he is. There he is. Well, also, I do want to say, speaking of Patreon, we did get a new patron in the last week. So shout out to Devin Brown. Devin, I appreciate. Justin and Jesse, appreciate your support. Hope you're enjoying all the bonus content. We've got a TRN Classics on Backlash 2000, which just won the poll, coming at you in the next couple of weeks. So look for that one soon.
Our patrons love their WWF.
I was gunning for one night only. Or not one night only.
Barely Legal?
ECW
Mhm.
Barely Legal. I was really
Me
hoping
too.
Barely Legal would win, but Backlash 2000 will be this month's classics. So look for that one very soon. We just reviewed WrestleMania 12 for patrons. That was a really fun show, available right now in the Patreon archives. So check it out. All right, guys, let's start off right at the top. The big news, the turn, the main event, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, CM Punk. CM Punk finally in his main event of a WrestleMania. I got to say, let's just talk about the presentation of this match and the entrances and everything. So I loved how they did the video for Punk with Kill Switch Engage. That was cool. His old theme song. Really enjoyed that. Honestly, I wish he would go back to that theme song. What do you guys think about that take?
No, I love it in Living Color too much.
Yeah.
Go with their original Cult of Personality, not the Guitar Hero one they're going with right now.
That's the thing. I don't like the new version he's using, but it was cool. Living Color was there, to play him to the ring for the first time since WrestleMania 29, when that happened with his match up in New York against The Undertaker. Rollins comes out with a flamethrower, which was wild. And then Roman. Okay. I noticed the entire show, they had all those vertical video boards over the entranceway. And then as Roman comes out, they lower, and it's got the lineage of all the Samoan wrestlers. That was super cool. And they were coming down behind him. Yeah. I really liked that. I thought the presentation was top notch.
Yeah, same here. I absolutely love that. The only thing that threw me off, it just it didn't really have any meaning to the match. If this main event had been Roman and Rock, then that would have meant so much more, him walking down to face The Rock with his lineage behind him. And then obviously we also could have maybe just gotten a Punk Rollins match instead of the three-way. But yeah, the presentation was solid.
Yeah. Jesse, any thoughts on that?
No, I don't really have any major ones. I just thought it was super cool as well, just to see the entire lineage.
Yeah. The match itself for a triple threat, I thought was solid. I mean, Roman hitting that dive over the not the entranceway, but the ringside barrier into the crowd, almost took out a fan's knees. It was insanity. Immediately checks on the other two to make sure they're okay. The match itself, do you guys have any thoughts on any of the spots or anything in the match before we get to the finish? Because I think that's where most of the conversation lies.
I would just say, as far as triple threat matches go, it was pretty well done. There wasn't too much of prolonged times where you're thinking, where the heck is the other guy? Where's he just laying around? There was the extended period where it kind of turned into a falls count anywhere match with Punk and Rollins. But for the most part, as far as triple threat matches go, this one was pretty well executed.
Yeah.
I echo Justin's sentiments as well. Yeah, it was from a cohesive standpoint. They all seemed like they knew each other well. And again, the lag time, it wasn't there. That's what I loved. I mean, I wish that more triple threats would take after it. Kind of felt like what you would see in the mid to late 90s, I think, from a pacing standpoint. So kudos to all three of those men.
There's another spot, just kind of going off memory now again, where Rollins countered a spear, turned it into a pedigree, kind of all in one sequence. That was pretty cool. Everybody
not the first time we've seen that, but that was probably the best done version of it.
That's where I was going. Money in the Bank 2016.
Yep. We had everyone kicking out everyone's finisher. Punk hit the go to sleep. Reigns kicked out. There was all this tease throughout the match with Rollins and Reigns. Rollins was trying to convince Reigns to team up together to take on Punk, screaming out that he shouldn't be here. He mentioned Mox, talking about him, everything that happened in the past with the Shield. And then later you get to this tease where they're going to do the Shield bomb. and it's Reigns and Rollins on the outside. They're getting ready to set it up. And then Reigns just ends up taking out both of them. Took out Rollins, powerbomb Punk through the commentary table. Did the same thing to Rollins. Rollins, by the way, Justin, that sharpshooter he put on Punk, pretty excellent. Would you agree?
Yeah, Iowa boys know how to lock that move on.
We were talking about that on the BR stream when he put it on. Like, all right, that's a solid sharpshooter. It's much better than the one Punk does. That's for sure. Way better than the one Dwayne did back in the day. I mean, he really had it cinched in, had it properly applied. Credit to one Colby Lopez for sure.
I know. I was just waiting for your expertise on the sharpshooter thought with you two.
He did it with on the left side, how Brett, always did it. Sting would do it on the right side, and he really sat back on it. Like, it looked excellent. Great stuff. We did get a super chat already from John Hope. So John, thank you for that. We will get to that topic here shortly. So I will come back to that one in a little bit. But then, we get to the tease, or not the tease, the actual turn with Heyman. And I mean, let me just say this. Everybody knew something was going to happen. It was way too straightforward for Punk to go in, with Paul Heyman, and for there not to be a swerve. I think everyone was waiting for it throughout the match. We were talking on the BR stream, Jeremy and I, about it. And then, you eventually get there, and it seems like he's at first going to go with Roman, right? He gives the low blow to Punk, and Roman's all smiles, and he gets the chair over to Roman. But then he ends up turning on Roman. And man, when he low blowed Roman, he kind of swirled that arm around up in there. Like, he wanted to make sure he hit him in the nuts. And when this was happening, Rollins is off kind of on the left side of the ring, staring up the entranceway, and his back is turned. And just no expression on his face whatsoever. And then all of a sudden, he just kind of slowly puts out his hand, and Paul hands him the chair. Tremendous. I thought that this was so well executed. Jesse, you're nodding. Give me your take.
Yeah, I think the only very slight nitpick would be Heyman, 3 to 4 seconds, kind of like looking at Roman. He's like, I gotta do it. And he just held and waited for whatever reason and finally did it. Like, we knew it was coming. Yeah. So, but outside of that, yeah, props to Mr. Colby Lopez for his work on this night. Actually, like I said, all three men did a really good job. But yeah, the turn makes sense. I think what I'm curious about, and this is going to be the follow-up, like, why did Paul do it? Yeah. I don't really understand. I mean, and I get that Seth's a better heel. I think personally, and I don't know how WWE feels about this, I'd rather have Punk turn heel. I think most of us would. So why is Seth going this route?
It was a perfectly executed angle for a story that I just had no investment in. Thinking about the whole triple threat aspect of that, I couldn't help but think about WrestleMania 20 with, where the story was redacted, having to overcome two kind of legendary obstacles to finally become world champion. Whereas this one was Seth had to beat two other baby faces in order to get a manager. It's like, okay, if this is the WrestleMania story we want to tell with a big giant spotlight on Paul Heyman, if that's your thing. But I mean, you guys are right. The execution was flawless, but the Real Housewives of Atlanta could have a flawless season finale, and it's just not going to mean a whole lot to me. I think for them to really cement this thing as a big moment, I'm just looking forward, and they need to put the world title on Seth Rollins way sooner rather than later. And I'm not talking about the undercard world title. I'm talking about the one they actually give a shit about. They've got to make this big. And, I will give them credit because of the execution. Seth Rollins really did come out looking like a much bigger deal than he has in a very, very long time.
I was going to ask if you'd have him beat Jey for the title on Monday night.
Yes,
right away.
I would have him beat whoever. Like, even if it's Cody or Cena. I mean, like, I would not wait any longer than the next PLE But yeah, I mean, you could go have him beat Jey because he's, not Jey, but Seth is supposedly a heel now. But I mean, no, he can't. I don't know. That world title just does nothing for me.
It's so strongly associated with Seth. Like he's the guy who made the title, when he won it and held it for, I don't know how many months. I don't remember, a long time. That, I think that'll be the one he goes for. It's kind of going to depend what happens tonight, with Cody and Cena. But I imagine if Cena wins, he's going to have the title for a little while. So it kind of puts that one out of play. But yeah, man, I agree that he needs to get a title right away. I think the intrigue is that, like for the turn was, we could see it coming. We said on the Bleacher Report stream at the beginning of the match, he was going to turn and join Seth. We just thought that was going to happen. So you could foresee that. But to your point about why, that's good that we don't know, because it gives us incentive to tune in. So now I'm interested to watch Raw, and see what the explanation is. But I think, for Seth Rollins, who Justin, you and I used to be big fans of Seth. And then when he started doing all the cackling and the weird clothes and stuff, we really kind of got off mostly because of the cackling, got off the bandwagon a little bit. And it's like, this is like channel changing induced behavior here. But now that he's actually going to be a heel again, changing his entire demeanor, I'm really looking forward to this version of Seth Rollins again. Now, they're going to have to change his theme song, because right after it happened, it was odd because it's hard to tell if the crowd was cheering him and doing the singing, or if that's built into the music track, because they pipe in the crowd noise. And I think his music track maybe has some of that overlaid already. But the crowd definitely popped when it happened. And it's like, that was supposed to induce boos. So, like he's going to have to get a different song that the crowd can't sing along with, whether he goes back to his old Architect one or, whatever he does. But he needs a totally new theme song. But for the first time in a long time, I am really, really excited to see where the direction for Seth Rollins goes. I thought it was phenomenal.
Especially with Heyman, and the rhetorical question, is he ever going to hit that Phoenix Splash on somebody?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Now, Niall says, I think Seth beats Uso before Money in the Bank. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, there could be something with The Rock. I mean, who knows? We'll have to see how this all plays out tonight. But yes, a very memorable ending of the show. I mean, that's going to be replayed a lot over the years. That's why I bumped it up to a B. I don't think this is my match of the year contender, but like I could see people making the argument, at least on the WWE side.
I was going to say, it's not even it's not even close to being the match of the week.
No, yeah.
AEW got all of those matches locked up, but yeah, as far as WWE fans, I'm sure they're going to be really feasting off this for quite a while.
Yeah.
Call me crazy. I'd take Mercedes and Athena over this one.
I don't think that's crazy.
That's a good. No, I mean, Dynamite was awesome on Wednesday night. Yeah, start to finish. I think for in-ring action, that show was tough to beat. Yeah, but this one, super memorable. I love the turn. Very intrigued to see where this goes with Paul and Seth. I think, coming out of this, I'd assume Punk and Seth is going to be the feud, just because Roman's probably not going to be around that much, right? So, I mean,
what brands are they on?
They're both on Raw, but Roman's on SmackDown.
Okay.
Correct.
And the Jay's world title is on Raw.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But
it just doesn't mean as much if Seth gets that title, especially if it's from Jey Uso. But if you want to really solidify, him as a heel, that would be the way to do it, with a baby face as over as Jey Uso.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could also tie into, heaven forbid, we haven't seen Dwayne since Elimination Chamber, but he threw a third finger up at the very end of that show. Maybe he joins Cena and The Rock at the end of it, with Heyman as well. So they just kind of conglomerately rule Raw, SmackDown, the entire WWE.
I've seen some Photoshops out there on social media predicting that. We'll see. We'll see tonight. So that was your main event. That was the turn. Easily the best match of the night. I mean, no question. They went a little bit over 30 minutes. I thought the match went by pretty fast. It was a solid match. Now, let's just talk about Jey, since we were talking about that title. That match opened the show. Jey Uso and Gunther. Well, actually, Paul Levesque opened the show. Then Jey Uso came out.
He opened the show after opening the show with a voiceover.
Yes. You got
oh my
twice.
Paul Levesque has risen. That's why we are celebrating today, right?
Yeah.
Yes. He emerged from the offices. So Jay makes his like 6-minute entrance or whatever it was all the way down Allegiant Stadium. Obviously, crowd super into him. I mean, the match with Gunther was fine. It was not. I mean, we know Gunther can have way better matches than this. I don't know about the finish. My big takeaway was like the finish was not how I would have booked it. So he makes Gunther tap out very quickly. Puts him in the submission. I've seen people defending this about how Gunther tapped out to Ilya really quickly like that. But, that's also a guy who can lock in the submissions and just beat the dude senseless throughout the match. Here it was just out of nowhere. Like Jay, he hits his multiple splashes. You think that's going to be the finish. Then he locks in the submission and like Gunther's tapping right away. I didn't really care for the finish. I wouldn't have Gunther tap out to Jey Uso. Your take, Jesse?
This whole thing was just to show, according to them, that Jey Uso can wrestle. I think that's probably the reason that they did all this. Yeah, I think I would have ended it with the third splash and called it good. I actually did enjoy this match. I mean, this was the only one that my son watched, and he actually did the yeet 2 times, and that was it. And he's like, "Oh, I'm having fun," and then he just stopped talking. So it was it wasn't a horribly memorable experience on his end. But no, I did like the match, and no, Jay should have won it, I think, with the multiple frog splashes.
Yeah, I mean, easy to call the winner on this one. Really, the only direction, Justin, that they could have gone here.
Yeah, I mean, I was twisted from it just because I would have much preferred Gunther to win and continue his reign. I'm not interested in main event Jey Uso at all, but I totally get why they booked him to win. There was something off about the entire match, especially when you consider the build where it felt like something that was going to be much more personal than the way the match actually played out. I thought they should have gotten after it way faster. It's the same thing, my same complaint as Mox and Swerve, where they basically just, locked up and started having a match. Whereas, Gunther had bloodied his brother. He'd beaten Jay 3 times pretty easily, pretty handedly. And I think that's another reason why the ending was so jarring. And I would have much preferred, and I think it could have gotten a bigger pop from the crowd if it was like a almost out of nowhere roll up situation, which that would have left you, I think, more open for the future with a rematch between these guys. I'd like this match way more than I seemed like the public, unless Cage Match is just like a broken website now. They gave it a 4.7.
Yeah, I think that's because people are mad about Jey Uso winning, and so they're dropping their score. It was a better match than that. I gave it like 3 stars on our Patreon.
I was a quarter higher than you on that one, Ryan.
Yeah,
I mean
it's fine.
It's a lower tier Gunther match, but it's still a Gunther match, which makes it better than almost anything else could be on a card.
Yeah. No, match was totally fine. I mean, like I was saying, Gunther can go higher than this, but given what they were doing, not a huge fan of the finish, so that's why I dropped it a little bit. Otherwise, I might have been even a little higher on it. But overall, you have to do this finish. I mean, you've built up Jey Uso as this top guy. I mean, he sells the merch. He's super over. My kids love Jey Uso. I'll just say it.
Same as mine.
Yeah, your kids too. So you can understand like why you would put the title on him. And you can't beat him after he has lost multiple times, including a Saturday night's main event in front of like a huge audience. You got to put him over here. So predictable result. Good for him. He was definitely toasting backstage. If you guys saw the press conference, he was hammered.
I missed that.
Oh, worth watching. Yeah. Go on the WWE YouTube channel. When he comes out, he was extremely intoxicated. It's very obvious.
Well, that's kind of fun. I like that.
He was having a good time.
I like the belt shot in the middle by Gunther as he was walking off, and then he climbs up to the rope for the top rope splash and gets the 2 count. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I mean, they started fine. Like we said, months ago now after the Royal Rumble, that Jey Uso should be in the first match at WrestleMania. Come out first, get the crowd going, has a good entrance. That's exactly what they did. So after that one, match number 2 was not great. this should not have been on the card. War Raiders and New Day. It's just, I don't know, you guys.
I mean, you talk about everybody, not everybody, but like just talking about WWE's popularity and how much of on a creative hot streak they're on. Motherfuckers, look at what they did to New Day. Like they had this hot heel turn, and now they're just cold as ice to me. They completely wasted that angle.
Yeah.
They did. They lost their first, I think, 2 or 3 tag matches after the heel turn. I was like, yep, that
So
sounds
wild.
like Levesque booking. It was very wild. So it kind of made this whole thing non-existent. And this was a match that I missed. So you can catch me up to speed. Apparently didn't miss much.
This is not my joke, but I love the fact that the Raiders still can't win in Allegiant.
Where's
Ryan Huffman?
Shedding tears right now. God, that's brutal. That's brutal. The Bears play out there this year. I'm thinking about going to that game. Possibly. We'll see.
It's a sharp stadium. It's a really
never
sharp
been
looking stadium.
So you're going to see Ashton Genty one way or another, aren't you, Ryan?
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. I got to get that schedule out though to see when they play them. It'll probably end up being like on the weekend of my kid's birthday or something in October, and I won't be able to go. But if it's possible, I'm thinking about going out there and seeing Allegiant in person. So we'll see. Back to the action here. New Day wins, easy call. War Raiders have zero heat whatsoever. Nobody cares. This was very obvious. Now, you contrast this with what they're doing on the SmackDown side. Where they're setting up a TLC match for SmackDown with the Street Profits and Motor City Machine Guns and DIY. Why would you not have that on WrestleMania?
Yeah.
Why?
So weird.
The thought process, I don't get there whatsoever. I mean, that's the match you feature. I don't know. Did you guys see that clip of the Street Profits on the podcast with Cameron?
Mm-mm.
So our friend Nick Days, who has been on the show before, he actually produces that podcast. Nice. And the Street Profits are doing media, and they're in the studio out there where we did the show, Justin, with Kyle cool. back on Double Nothing Weekend. And they were hassling him about like, wait, why aren't you on this show? You're the champions. Why aren't you on WrestleMania? You're the Street Profits. What street? Like it was kind of funny the way they were getting harassed on the podcast. Yeah, like why aren't you on WrestleMania if you're the champions? Exactly. They should have been on WrestleMania. This match was just a nothing match. I mean, it was fine. Not egregiously bad by any means. Just seemed like the crowd didn't really care. I don't really have any takes on it. Other than that.
It's going to be forgotten to history and by tomorrow.
Yeah. So should have been the SmackDown tag titles. Jade Cargill and Naomi. Cargill getting, they both got big entrances, but I thought Cargill's entrance in particular was pretty cool with the weather guy and the storm is coming and her gear looked cool. They gave him just under 10 minutes. Jade's improving in the ring. This is one of those things we've always said on the podcast, going back to when she debuted with AEW. The problem was going to be, it's not really a house show industry anymore. When does she get her reps in? They put her on Rampage, and on Rampage, they could have her in taped matches to kind of protect her a little bit. Send her to WWE. We thought maybe she'd be on NXT, get some practice. Nope, right to the main roster because she looks like a superstar. And you could tell, she still had limitations. They put her in the tag team to kind of help her along. She's been out with the injury, comes back here. Looked much better, I thought. You can tell she's improving. They had a pretty good match. There's some pretty cool spots in this one too. I think her selling needs a little work still. There was a couple times where they zoomed in tight on them, where she was kind of like staggering in the ring. There was one moment where like Naomi was going to be, I think, coming off of the turnbuckles, and they had a tight camera shot on her, and you could see her like talking to Naomi, and she wasn't selling that she was hurt at all. That kind of stuff needs to get fixed still. Again, nitpicking. You could just tell that she's still green in the ring, but I thought that this was one of her better singles matches for sure. I thought she would go over too, so predictable. But, overall, Jesse, thought they had a decent match.
Yeah, this was the one I caught the last 90 seconds of and just couldn't rewind it back because WWE limits 2 hours back on Peacock. So I couldn't go all the way back and see it. But the finish looked solid, I felt. And I heard there was a wardrobe malfunction. Is that correct?
I don't think that can be confirmed.
Okay.
I don't have the hellhole of Twitter anymore, which is where
Yeah.
you'd probably find that kind of thing. But yeah, I don't know. There was a lot of adjusting during the match.
Okay. That seems to be a Jade Cargill staple. It happened multiple times in AEW also.
Yeah. The gear was cool though. I like
Yeah,
the gear.
the gear was cool. My boredom from the previous match kind of bled into this match. So I mean, it was hard for me to focus in. I don't know if I see as much of the improvement in Jade as maybe Ryan sees. I could hear her thinking about, what her next spot or move was in this match all the way from Iowa. I mean, it was just, this match was very performative, in not a good way as far as wrestling goes, in my opinion. Now, having said that, I thought Naomi did an excellent job directing the match. So kudos to her. And the finish was good. That power bomb that Jade gave her looked incredible.
Yeah. So Naomi had kind of like a crucifix style submission, if I remember right, on her. And then like Jade kind of rolled through, picked her up in like a fireman's carry, and then like threw her up in the air. And when Naomi was in the air, she turned around and power bombed her. Was super cool.
Yeah, very cool. And then straight into the well, no, it wasn't straight into the Jaded, because that, again, power bomb, awesome. And then like Jade looked like she was going for the pin, but the ref wasn't counting. It was almost like they were like, hey, you got to go to the Jaded to finish the match. That was the plan. Just seemed like she forgot what the next move was.
Yeah. She covered for the pin, and he was like starting the count, and then she just like let go of the pin, lifted her up, Jaded.
So
yeah,
that's kind of, for me, that was the entire match in a nutshell. It was just a lot of awkward movements.
Yeah.
But they both obviously tried hard, and again, kudos to Naomi.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll see where this thing goes, especially with Jade moving forward and seeing the results of tonight's championship match also.
Yeah. So they followed that one up with Jacob Fatu, LA Knight, US title, LA Knight defending. Again, I mean, this is an obvious result. You can't have Jacob Fatu lose here. LA Knight, still pretty over. Not like he was a couple of years ago, but still pretty over. But I mean, the ceiling for Jacob Fatu is higher.
Yeah,
I would say, like I said,
a lot higher.
Yeah. There was like a point where you could make an argument for LA Knight maybe getting a shot at a world title and winning. Actually, he was just so over. It was like similar with Jey right now, where he was moving a ton of merchandise, easily the loudest reactions on the shows, but he didn't get that. So now I feel he's cemented in the, that US title picture scene, IC title, mid-card title area.
Yep.
He's still pretty over, but yeah, if Jacob Fatu is not main eventing a WrestleMania in the next 2 years, they have royally screwed up, because this dude could do everything. We have raved about him on this show. I don't know how many times. So charismatic, unbelievably agile for a guy his size. And the match they had, my only nitpick on this one, because it was a good match, was I honestly would have had Jacob Fatu beat him faster. I would have had him be more dominant. I thought the first half of the match was too even keeled back and forth. I would have just had him pretty much run through LA Knight.
Yeah, agree 100%. That I don't have a whole lot to say about this match, because I am not an LA Knight guy at all. And I think it should have been a much quicker match.
The reversal with the blunt force trauma on the reversal of the moonsault, I actually really liked a lot. And this was one of LA's better performances in ring. He actually had a decent match, I think, last year at WrestleMania with AJ Styles too. So, I mean, I think it's kind of who the dance partner is in this aspect. And Haku coming out at the end, celebrating the Jacob Fatu, I popped very loud for that, because I'm definitely a Haku guy.
Yeah, it was cool to see him. Yeah, no, the BFT spot was cool. There was a point where Jacob hit a Samoan drop off the top on LA Knight, and it almost ended in disaster. There was a couple times on this show where people almost got seriously hurt, but he had him up, and as LA Knight was coming down, he had his arm in this really awkward position, like it was going to come underneath him, and he could have broke his arm, but at the last second, he moves his arm. If you watch that back, you'll notice that. And then Jacob hits the consecutive moonsaults, of course. Gets the victory. Yeah, I mean, totally fine. Not a bad match. I would have had him be a little bit more dominant, but it's the right finish. You got to put the title on him. I'd have Jacob Fatu be the US title until he gets a world title shot.
Yep.
And when that happens, it's like title for title. That's how I would do it. He shouldn't lose it until they're ready to give him that shot, whether it's at Mania next year or SummerSlam or, whenever they decide to do it. I don't think he should drop this title at all. And
Almost.
whenever he do the stuff with Solo Sikoa, he should destroy Solo Sikoa.
Almost what they did with Gunther, losing at WrestleMania, winning it at SummerSlam. Yeah, and he hasn't interacted with Cody at all. I don't believe in any setting. So if once he gets the title back, it makes a whole lot of sense for him to chase it down.
Yeah. Okay. Here we go. I guess we could bring up the super chat before we get into this match. Let me scroll back up. And remember, we got the super chat goal, you guys. We got one of them. If we get to 10, we're going to give away a Patreon membership for 2 months. Got to be at least $2 on the super chats. But our guy John Hope sent in our first super chat of the day. Love to know the crew's view of WWE purchasing AAA, which was announced during the pre-show yesterday out of nowhere. Yeah, I got some thoughts on this, but I'll throw it to you first. Jesse, thoughts on this?
Are they going to retry to monopolize things again? Is that what's going on? I mean, right now they're they're partnering with Noah and TNA, but at the same time, their guys and women are getting victories over their people. I think in terms of AAA, I don't know where they're at financially, so that could have been a thing. And I know there's rich history. Hunter mentioned it on the post-game show that he was watching in a hotel room with William Regal and Brian Pillman, the original AAA Worlds Collide, which they're going to do in June, and said this was something that he wanted to do. I mean, obviously in corporation speak, so I'm not too keen on it. I kind of like with what AEW is doing with the CML partnership, New Japan partnership. I think overall, just outright purchasing something that has so much tradition behind it is, I don't think that it's absolutely necessary, especially the way that they've treated Latin American stars, Mexican stars that have come in there, especially outside of Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio. I feel like the entire, everybody that's been there has been kind of treated as a joke.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think Justin might have a joke about one of the AAA owners as well, because I was thinking the exact same thing as you.
Yeah, what was it? Maricela Pena? All three of them actually, but her especially look like Pixar villains who definitely have some skeletons in the closet, possibly some dead bodies. I thought this was a bit of a bummer, this news. Obviously, I understand if this was like AAA's only option to kind of stay afloat. But yeah, my first thought to what you said, Jesse, is I thought about when they were trying to start an NXT in every country. All we heard is they were going to do NXT Japan. Obviously, they did NXT UK. And so this is just the new version of that. It's just buying out companies in countries. I will be devastated if they somehow get their hands on New Japan. But to me, I thought of that and just them. They want the monopoly. They want to pay these talents lower wages, and the way to do that is to own everything. I still thought about how they said Swerve was overpaid when he got his new contract. It's so weird for a company that makes this much. And going back to your earlier note, Ryan, about is the talent getting any of this sponsorship money? Fuck no, they're not. They want to keep these wages as low as possible, and to me, this just felt like another way of doing that.
Yeah, I don't know how anyone could cheer this. It's not a good thing for the industry for one company to own multiple promotions. I think I saw a stat out there that WWE will be owning, or not owning, well, kind of owning 450 wrestlers, something like that, are under control of WWE. I don't know if that's accurate. I saw this stat floating around earlier today. Just all the people that they have under contract and all the other promotions, they have 450 wrestlers or something like that. That's insanity. Yeah, it's not good. I mean, you mentioned New Japan. Is this going to force AEW to look to acquire New Japan so that doesn't happen? Is it going to force them to look to acquire CMLL so that doesn't happen? And are we going to have a situation where it's basically two entities that own the entire world of pro wrestling? Because if WWE keeps making these moves, it's risky that they will acquire New Japan, and you have to start thinking about those kinds of things to keep it at least in two different hands instead of one huge corporate overlord. which would be horrible for the industry. We've been there before. We know what that is. Not good. I mean, we haven't been there with them owning the entire world, but we've had that here in North America, and it was horrible. So yeah, no, it's not good. I'm not a fan of this. I know that AAA has not been real good for a while. I know they've, their shows are not as well received. I haven't been watching them. I haven't watched AAA in a long time, but I think wasn't JBL on a show recently or something? I mean, it's definitely the more like WWE oriented of the two major promotions down there, with a lot more of the, not really, I don't know what the word I'm looking for, pizzazz, but like just the more goofy storylines.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's my big question is, are they still going to kind of let AAA be AAA, or is it going to have to be more homogenized as, a WWE product? And that'd even be my fear with like, if AEW, to combat this, bought New Japan and made it more AEW than New Japan. Like, I don't want to see that either.
Right.
It's just, I need the diversity in professional wrestling. And this is just a step not in that direction.
Yeah.
Not just that, I think there's a track record with a performer on the AAA roster with Stephanie Vakir that is very sketchy from what I have seen in reports. So if you really want to do some investigating, please do that, because I don't want to touch that one.
No, I don't want to talk about that on the show. I don't want to get any legal problems, but you can research that on your own, ladies and gentlemen. Not good. Not sure how she feels about this. She chose to go there from AEW and now finds herself in this kind of awkward situation.
The look on Andrade's face was kind of funny in that press conference too. I mean, you could see a few of them there. We're just like, what? And I think might highlight this most importantly, Vikingo, El Hijo del Vikingo. Didn't mention him by that name, just shortened it to Vikingo. Oh dear. Now he's under WWE control.
Mm-hmm. We'll see what happens, but I'm not a fan. This kind of thing, in my opinion, is never good for the industry. So we'll take that right into the match that was scheduled to be Rey Mysterio taking on. Do I really want to say the name?
Let's do it.
Never ordering one from Starbucks
Chad
again.
Gable. Yeah, El Grande Americano, Chad Gable. But yeah, Rey Mysterio got injured legit on SmackDown on Friday night. It was a 6-man tag, and you wouldn't really see that he got injured because apparently where it happened, Julius Creed pulled Mysterio out of the ring. Just pulled like a regular move they do all the time. Just pulled him from underneath the bottom ropes to the outside, and as Mysterio was going to the outside, he just kind of like turns so that he doesn't fall on his stomach because he's pulled out that direction, and he's turning in the air to like fall on his back on the outside. And right when he hits the ground, he just starts grabbing at his groin area, and apparently, according to Meltzer, tore his groin, and so he's going to be out a while. He thought at first, it hurt, but he might be able to still wrestle. And then yesterday, on Saturday, they, gave him the medical exam. There's no way you're wrestling. It's torn. So they bring in Rey Fenix to be the sub, and Rey Fenix wrestles Gable in this match. They get 8 minutes. Match was super solid as far as like an athletic match goes. Really enjoyed the work that the two guys did. Outside of this gimmick with the little metal plate that Gable puts, he keeps it like in his chest area, right? And then he like pulls it out of their pants or whatever down in that area, and then he puts it in his mask. Like he has to sneak himself doing that. Why would he not just wear it in his mask the whole time? I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. But during the match, you see him put the metal plate in there, and then Phoenix kicks him in the head, but then sells that his leg is hurt because he kicked the metal. And this allows Gable to get the win. So I guess in their minds, probably they protect Phoenix because he cheated to win. I don't know how you have Rey Fenix lose at WrestleMania to this bullshit gimmick. I'm sorry. It's Rey Fenix. You made such a big deal out of his debut. You're selling all this merchandise for this guy. I don't think there's much of a story here, Jesse. It's a stupid, lame gimmick that they've now saddled Chad Gable with again. It's not going to go anywhere long term. So why don't you put over Rey Fenix? Your thoughts, Jesse?
He's, in my mind, the best luchador that they've brought in since Rey Mysterio. He's really good. I mean, people could argue Sin Cara, but he ended up kind of falling flat on his face. I'll give Gable some credit with his reverse 450. That was a sweet move. Yeah, a lot of fun for 8.5 minutes. I think the spot should have probably been given to Dragon Lee in this aspect because his name has been kind of drugged through the mud a little bit more than Ray Phoenix's has, especially since he just debuted on SmackDown. I think, the Chicago show, the first one back from the States when they were overseas. So, yeah, it doesn't make any sense. You should have given him a win here. Gable can obviously get his heat back any way that he wants to with this crowd, especially the Gulf of America. Come on now.
Yeah, Justin.
7 humps. Absolutely loved it. Loved Ray Phoenix taking the loss against a cheesy ass El Grande Americano gimmick. Beautiful stuff. Pitch perfect. No notes. Oh, actually, I do have a note. It's funny. Michael Cole seemed really off all night, and like they had the moment where Phoenix kicked his head after he put the steel plate in there, and he grabbed his ankle, and Cole was immediately like, "Oh, I think he twisted it when he fell off the rope." It's like, dude, are you watching the story of this match? What is going on here?
Yeah.
Wade Barrett pointed it out for him.
Yep. Yeah. Barrett saved him there, but yeesh. I thought Cole had a few bad moments on this show.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I don't know what the thought process is there. You put Ray Phoenix over and you move on. Like he was a last minute sub in this match. It didn't make a lot of sense to me, but whatever. They're moving forward with this storyline with Chad Gable that will ultimately lead him to nothing. So here we are.
That's even funnier that John Hope mentions it, that Phoenix hurts his foot and then gets the ankle lock on the other ankle.
Yeah. That don't make sense either. But yeah, match was fine. Odd winner, whatever. Ray Phoenix, hope the grass is greener, bud. There you are. Oh, by the way, you guys will find this entertaining before I forget. We were talking about this on the BR show last night, and I said, just kind of offhand, I was comparing Ray Phoenix coming in with Penta coming in and how they have, really protected them so far, and they've done a really good job with their debuts. And I said, for a guy like Ray Phoenix, at this point, his ceiling is like he's a much better performer than Penta is right now. And some guy in our chat was really going after me. Oh, that's a bold take. Ray Phoenix is better than Penta. Yeah. Have you been watching them the last couple of years? He's clearly at this point in his career, he's a much better performer than Penta is. It's not even close.
I ripped that guy on Unplugged for saying the same thing, that Penta is a much better performer than Ray Phoenix.
What? Have you guys been watching it? I mean, I've seen probably every televised match the two have had for the last several years, and it's not close. Like Ray Phoenix is a much better performer in the ring. Now, I mean, Penta has a cool look too, but yeah. The ceiling is higher for Ray Phoenix at this point in their careers. So I didn't think it was a hot take, but this guy was really taking issue with me saying that. I thought it was funny. All right. The only match we haven't talked about, Tiffany Stratton defending the women's championship against Charlotte Flair. I was pretty set on my opinion that Tiffany needed to retain here. Now, before all this stuff started where they went off script 2 weeks ago on SmackDown, I wouldn't have liked it if Charlotte won, but I could maybe understand the argument. All right, put the belt on the heel, Tiffany chase her for a little bit. But after Charlotte pulled what she pulled, and she's got her kind of a reputation for doing this, really testing the young talent, going off script, putting them in awkward situations. I almost felt like, all right, the office needs to kind of send a message here that you're not going to win the title. We're going to keep it on Tiffany. You're going to put her over clean, and that's going to be that. And that's what they did. I was going into the match. I was really curious how this would play out just based on what had happened between the two of them and what would the physicality look like. And in that regard, it did not disappoint. Yes, there were sloppy moments. There were times where it looked like Charlotte sandbagged Tiffany, where she was dead weighting her, especially in the finishing sequence. But Tiffany said in the media scrum that this was her dream match and really put over Charlotte in the press scrum afterwards. But I mean, it was sure interesting building up just because of the real life heat that supposedly developed. I thought the presentation and the entrance for Tiffany was freaking awesome with the Barbie box and the Barbie dream house on the stage and all of that. I really dug this match. I know there was a lot of people talking about, it's too sloppy. Well, I don't know, man. I didn't really want it to be a super clean match because of the real heat. I wanted it to look like a knockdown, drag out match. And that's kind of how it appeared. So to me, this was my second favorite match of the night. This is I think the number 2 highest grade match for me on our Patreon. I'll throw it to you first, Jesse.
No, I'm in agreement with you. I think it was the second best match of the night, but there were some super sloppy spots in there. But the cool stuff was, I mean, Tiffany with the welts, and it almost looked like she lost a tooth.
Yes, she definitely chipped one.
You could see the lip was just kind of overhanging there and stuff, and I think it was pretty much fixed in the press conference when I watched it.
Yeah.
She needs to work a lot, I think, on her PR and her interviews, because there was a lot of likes and and she even said, what else did she say? She said that, the story was writ for me.
Yeah, it was
instead
very
of
smooth. Yeah.
I know. I was looking at her. I was like, "Ooh, you're not coming off the best right now. We need a little more experience here." But no, I felt that the match was very good. And you're right. I mean, Charlotte does have this reputation to do this with other performers. She's done it with Sasha in the past too.
Mm-hmm.
So no, I mean the right person went over, and we'll see again. Just the experience, I think, coming down the line for Tiffany Stratton, where she ends up and who ends up taking the title off of her.
Yeah. No, big time win on the biggest stage. I agree. She appeared to be kind of nervous in the press conference or something because she kind of stumbled over what her thoughts were and everything. But she, I mean, just a great look, great presentation. My daughters love her too. And I was really, really happy to see her win. But yeah, it was brutal. The tooth thing. I saw she was on social saying her teeth was fine and like a picture of her teeth. It was definitely broken. You could see it clear as day that it was chipped, one of her front teeth. So they either got a cap put on there right away, or I don't know what they did, but it looked fine in the media scrum. And she also had that huge welt on her forehead. I'm not sure where this all happened. There was one point where Charlotte, like Tiffany was on the mat sitting up, and Charlotte went to chop her, but hit her right across the head. And I don't know if that's where the welt came from or if that's where the tooth incident happened. It looked pretty freaking brutal though, live. So it had to be one of the two. Justin, takes on this match?
I really, really, really wish talent that were going to be in the same match would discuss what ring gear they're going to wear beforehand so that they don't look exactly like each other. Like there's, the start of the match, and I couldn't help but think like, when in time travel movies, if you come across yourself, if you touch yourself in another timeline, then it could rip apart the universe. That's how I felt about these two ladies during this match. Very similar looking, but it started off great, and it did kind of fall apart in a weird way. But it's one of those matches where it's a clusterfuck, but it's a clusterfuck in a good way. Because I mean, they were laying everything in. It was stiff. It looked like a fight. I enjoyed it for the most part. I would say it's a lesser version of Charlotte and Rhea Ripley from, was that 39, where they were really looked like they were getting into it. That just goes to your point of, this is kind of Charlotte's thing. This is what she does to younger talent. God bless her. It was good. Right. I agree. Right person won.
Yeah. So that's night one of WrestleMania 41. Any other things we didn't hit on? Did we talk about the entranceway at all? Let's talk, because we kind of hit on presentation early, but I don't think we mentioned this. I thought the stage it's obviously impressive and how big it is. I think it's cool that they have fans sitting up there. They've never had that before. That's super cool. It doesn't have a Vegas feel to me though. At all.
Underwhelming as far as its connection to Vegas.
Kind of look like LA.
I've seen people like putting this in these lists of like the top Mania stage there. I'm like, what? Not at all, man. Like, I guess it's supposed to look like a hotel casino, but it just looks like a big building with like a big ribbon board out front. And
I mean, again, to kind of tie this to WrestleMania 39, it's a worse version of that. Like the WrestleMania 39 stage was incredible. And this just feels like a little bit lackluster effort compared to that one.
Yeah. To me, the coolest part is just that there's fans on the sides. That's super cool. But like, I would have had poker chips or like cards or like a big slot machine, where the fans would come up on it, or I mean, the wrestlers' faces would come up in the 3 spots or something when the slot machine would roll. There's so many things they could have done, but it's like, it's just like a big hotel. It looks like a big hotel.
Do more of a WrestleMania 33 stage design, tie it into more of, where that was kind of a amusement park
Yeah,
adjacent, where this needed a little bit more diversity in the quote unquote skyline.
yes. To me, you could have this stage anywhere. Like imagine they're doing Mania in the stadium whenever they finally get built in Chicago. This could be the stage there. Looks like a
Yep.
skyscraper, you know? It's not like some of these other ones they've had where Orlando with theme park or like the Mardi Gras Mania 34 that we went to, Justin, where you can very much tell it's associated with the theme of the city. This just doesn't have that. It's a spectacle. It's huge. It looks cool. I just like when they have the more local flavor to it.
Agree 100%.
Yeah.
Yep, you're getting 0 arguments from me. And then I also liked Bret Hart's little kind of handshake and stare down with Mr. Paul Levesque as well.
He just kind of rolled his eyes. Okay. Yeah, that's a good point. They do the Hall of Fame thing. Only Hunter gets an entrance as the last guy. You can't put Stone Cold Steve Austin and Bret Hart just out there with the jobber entrance. They're just on the stage. How do you not have the glass shatter at least? I mean, that is mind blowing. And when Hunter came out and he got the entrance, there was a shot. This one people haven't clipped on social, I don't think, where Brett and Steve were talking at that point, and it looked like laughing. I'd love to know what they were saying to each other there about, you know, Hunter getting the only entrance. And then, then the part that everyone's clipping where Hunter shakes Brett's hand, and then Brett rolls his eyes as he walks away. It's incredible.
Speaking of he has risen, I think the people have risen finally from being asleep after Hunter put them there in his 1 hour speech on Friday night at like 2:30 in the morning.
Dude, 4 a.m. Eastern time. Most people haven't adapted to the time change yet after SmackDown. I mean, this is the problem with doing 2 nights of Mania, because it could have been Saturday night, you know, with nothing else, but they do it after SmackDown. Goes till 1 a.m. local time, which is, I think they're 2 hours behind us, right? Central. So yeah, it's like 3 hours behind East Coast. 4 o'clock in the morning. My God.
Since I handed out a God bless to Charlotte, I will also hand out a God bless him to Lex Luger, who supposedly decided to go to WrestleCon instead of WrestleMania because the money was better. Bravo, sir. Bravo.
Get paid. All right, guys. Well, that's WrestleMania night 1. We're going to recap night 2. Not sure when yet. We have to figure this out. There's a possibility we could go live tonight, depending on when the show ends, or tomorrow morning at some point. So just make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. You have notifications on. You'll get the alert whenever we go live. If you're a patron, of course, I'll post the link. You'll have a heads up there as well. So we'll review night 2, Cody Cena, you know, and everything else. And we'll get that to you here at some point in the next 24 hours for sure. So watch the podcast feeds, the YouTube channel. Appreciate everyone's support. Hope you enjoy night 2 of WrestleMania. Jesse and Justin, appreciate you jumping on with me.
Happy to be here, sir.
Another lively chat again. Thank you so much. Enjoy your Easter and your 420 if that's your thing as well.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. All right, guys. So yeah, we'll talk to you all again real soon. Take care, everybody. Thank you for your support. See you next time.
Go Celtics.